Namaste guys, I'm going to cover moon signs and how we react to emotion based on where the placement of the moon was at the time of our birth. Now we all know that the sun sign pertains to your soul in this lifetime, and the rising sign pertains to the sign that you were in your past life and the one that you're bringing in to this life as a personality that you wear. And that is the difference between the sun sign and the ascendant, the rising sign, the ascendant sign and the rising sign and everything. So whenever somebody says, well, you have the personality of a Scorpio, but you act like a Sagittarius, meaning you're so serious like a Scorpio, but you're laughing like a Sagittarius for every single joke somebody says. That's not even funny. And that's exactly what I am trying to explain to you here. And then they say, well, you are reacting like an Aquarius. All right. Now reaction is like, it's not the source, it's just reacting to a source. Just like the moon is reflecting the sun. She is not a source, she's just a reflector. So a reaction is kind of like a reflection of the source. So I have my moon in Aquarius. So I'm going to start off with that one because I'm going to use that as my point of reference for the rest of the other signs. Now if you have an Aquarius moon like myself, when you react to something, you just don't go emotional like an Aries moon. An Aries moon is very impulsive, extremely impulsive. They react so quick to any emotion, they could get really rattled up quickly. I mean, I've seen people go from 0 to 100 in 1 minute, burst of anger. They don't analyze the situation, they just see red. Now an Aquarius moon person, they could analyze things before reacting, which is great. And actually this is like the most proudest placement that I have in my whole natal chart, which is the Aquarian moon, because I could think before reacting or before coming into an emotional conclusion, and that's actually pretty good because you could analyze your emotions. You have the ability to do that, which is something that the rest of the other signs don't have as well. So that's a great placement. The Taurus moon. Now people with Taurus moon, they're very laid back. They don't show that like that boom like the Aquarian moons do, but they're more they give more of a late reaction, I would say. Very slow reaction when it comes to reacting emotionally. The Gemini moon, they're quick. They're quick thinkers. So they're quick to come to a conclusion of criticism. Oh my God, was it me? That's the Gemini mode, because Gemini is the twins, and what is the twins? Is a mirror. They judge themselves based on relationships with other people. And that's what the sign is. Really, that's what the sign is. Our dual self. So whenever somebody triggers them, their reaction is, oh God, was it me? And that quick thinking, and a million things go through their mind. A million things. These people are quick to think. Now people with the moon in Cancer. Now if you have a moon in Cancer, that the moon rules Cancer because it's the emotional constellation. The moon controls pretty much everything in this planet. It's like the closest object we have here to the planet. So it also controls us emotionally because we're like made out of, we're like made out of 85% of water. So the moon controls everything. So when you have the moon in this placement, they could become very, very emotionally triggered, and maybe not show it, but internally they're like a turmoil, when they get emotionally triggered. Very, the crying, they're very fast at crying, very, very fast. Unless in their chart there's something that's, preventing them from, showing, the emotions physically. But usually a person with this type of aspect would generally be, crying. Now the moon placement in Leo. Now we know that Leo have very high self-esteem of themselves. So if something triggers them emotionally, they'll be like, oh yeah, did I do that? That's like their first reaction. Does it really concern me? They have like this sort of a pride air to their emotions that you could, sense it in their behavior. Virgo moon. When you have a Virgo moon, it's very much of like the first response would be of any emotional situation, like, oh, how could I help? Because Virgo is the constellation of helping people, of improving things, perfecting things. So their first thing that comes to their mind is, man, how could I be of service? You know, that's their modality. But they're also analytical. They could be pretty much analytical, like Aquarius. They're like the earth sign version of Aquarius, you know, in that sense. So it could be pretty good. It could be a very good placement to have the moon there too. The Libra moon. Now the Libra moon has to weigh everything. All right, when something happens, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, is that fair? You know, who did that? You know what I mean? What did that person do to deserve that? See, that's the Libra emotion. You know, why did that happen? You know, and you know, it'll take them a while to understand why it happened and to integrate that and then come to a certain judgment so they could feel the emotion. You know, it's kind of like an Aquarius, where the Aquarius analyzes it, all right, but they don't really judge it. They don't really look at the two sides. They do it based on logic, you know, as within Libra does it based on the cosmic laws. Is that fair or is that not fair? See what I mean? That's the difference between the Aquarian and the Libra. But sometimes the Libra could come into a certain judgment that is not logical. The moon in Scorpio. Ooh, bad temper, bad temper. I know somebody with this placement and they snap really quick, you know. They could be triggered really quickly, but they're very psychic, all right, because, you know, Scorpio looks at things that are behind the scene. So this moon in this sign, it's very helpful when it comes to seeing through people, you know what I mean? So when something emotional happens, they're quick to say, you know, is there something shady behind this? You know what I mean? That's their first reaction of a Scorpio moon. The Sagittarius moon. Now these people, everything's a joke. I know somebody that has this place. I mean, their mood is just so humorous. They take life easy, and I've seen this. I wish I had this placement sometimes. Their reaction to emotions is putting boundaries. You know, saying, well, you know what? It's not my problem. You know, I'm not going to get involved. You know, if it didn't happen to me, it's, you know, it's really not much of I can't do much of it. You know, they're very free-spirited when it comes to emotions. The Capricorn Moon. The Capricorn Moon is very serious. The Capricorn is not that they don't feel any emotion, because everybody does feel emotions. It's just that they want to appear hard. Usually, that's how Capricorns are. You know, they're very private people, and they just don't like to be embarrassed in public. You know what I mean? So they try to reserve those emotions, because to them, crying is an embarrassment, to most of the Capricorns. Now, Moon in Pisces, finally. Moon in Pisces, it's like a mixture of Scorpio and Cancer. They could be very tender and very compassionate, and they could be psychic. So they have two of those, you know, a combination of Cancer and Scorpio. So it has like a double whammy. But they could be very much easily victimized. Everything is their fault, you know what I mean? So when something happens, oh my God, it's my fault, you know, automatically, you know, without even assessing the situation, which is not good. So yeah, this was a general description of our moon signs, and I hope you enjoyed this video and found it fun.